Hello, hello, hello. It's Recovery Mom. I thought I would jump on and do a little car Q&A. It's been a while since I've done this. I think the last time I did a Q&A was at the Sacramento airport, oddly. I always do the Q&A when I'm waiting for my kids. But anyway, thought I'd come on, answer some questions about recovery, anorexia, eating disorder, whatever you guys had questions about. See if you had any questions for me. Otherwise, maybe I'll just spend a little time and chat about some questions that I have been getting. Okay, so lately I've had somebody on my Instagram and somebody on my YouTube ask me to talk a little bit about the positive aspects of recovery, which is funny because not a lot of people want to hear about the positive aspects of recovery. They're not kind of like in that frame of mind. I think it's just hard to imagine that there are positive aspects to recovery. And so let's talk for a minute about the positive side to recovery. What I mean by that is like, when you eat food, you're terrified, right? When you eat a burger, you would think you would be happy to eat a burger, right? But you're not happy to eat a burger. You're terrified, you're horrified. A lot of times you can't even taste the burger. And so this person was like, hi. And so this person was like, hey, Recovery Mom, I am so sick of all this negative stuff when I eat, all this negative stuff happening to me. I want to know, when is it going to be positive? When am I going to have something happen that's going to be good in my recovery? When is it going to be okay to eat a fucking burger, right? So what I will say is that it will start happening in glimpses. And to hear what you're saying, somebody on here just said, it's not that I'm terrified of food, it's that I'm terrified with how much you love food. And so what will happen is as you recover, you will start realizing, you will have these moments, okay, where you will eat a burger and realize that you didn't have guilt and shame. Or you will order a drink filled with liquid calories and you'll realize that you ordered that without even thinking about it, okay? And it won't happen all the time at first. All of a sudden it will happen and you'll just go, holy shit, I just ordered a slushie and I didn't even think about the calories. Or wow, I just ate those pancakes and it didn't even occur to me to feel guilty about it or shameful about it. You just did it. And you'll have these moments of that, right? And then the moments will turn into hours and then days. And then before you know it, instead of having moments without guilt and shame, you will actually have moments where you don't even think about food. You'll have moments where you realize you'll start to get hungry. You'll start to think about food and what you want to eat. And you'll realize, oh my God, I wasn't even thinking about food for a minute. There was some time went by where I didn't even think about food. And that's what will happen. It will slowly start happening. And then it will turn into minutes and then turn into hours and then turn into days. Okay. And I hear what you're saying. You're like, it's not that I'm terrified of food. It's that I love food so incredibly much that I feel like I'm out of control around it. And the reason that you feel that way is because all of the restriction, right? When we stay away from food, it just gives it more power. When we restrict ourselves of food, we just think about it more. So the fact that we have all of these food deficits, of course food is going to have power. It's just like in the Minnesota starvation experiments. These men that went through this, they never focused on food. They never read recipe magazines. But once they were restricted of food, all of a sudden food became their favorite thing to talk about, their favorite thing to look at, their favorite thing to ruminate about. All they could do was think about food, talk about food, want to be around food. They would look through recipe magazines. They never did that before. So it's not necessarily that you love food too much. It's that you are hyper-focused about food because you're not having enough of it. You're not giving yourself enough of it, okay? And I love that example that when you're cooking, you lick the spoon unconsciously. Because there's a time in your eating disorder when you would know that spoon is in front of you with food on it. You would be terrified of it. And then one day, you just unconsciously lick that spoon and you're like, holy shit, I just licked that spoon. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about how many calories are in it. And that's how recovery starts, with those little glimpses of happiness. And then those little glimpses will become more and more regular. And that's what kind of keeps you going too. When you want to give up in recovery and you're kind of like thinking about relapsing or thinking about being done, and then you'll have this little glimpse and you'll be like, wait a minute, but remember when I licked the spoon and didn't even realize it? Remember when I ate a pancake and didn't feel shame? That's what will keep you going, right? How do I get over a really bad relapse, especially while grieving? So, how you get over a relapse is how you start recovery in the first place. You assess where you're at, how much are you eating, how much are you moving, right? So you figure out where you're at. The angle on this camera is like kind of weirding me out, but that's all right. You figure out where you're at, and then you take the next step you can that is the biggest step forward, that you know you won't end up turning back to anorexia, if that makes sense. So like, say you're eating 2,000 calories a day. Can you eat 2,100 calories a day? Say you're eating oatmeal for breakfast. Can you add some raisins in there? Can you add some brown sugar in there? So you take the next step forward you can take. Can you add raisins and brown sugar? Or will that put you over the top and make you restrict tomorrow? So if that's too much, you back it up a little bit. But you just make the biggest jump forward you can make forward, where you know you're not going to restrict or purge or use behaviors afterwards. That's how you get back in. And I'm sorry that your grandma passed. That's horrible. It's triggering. It makes us want to jump back into our eating disorder as a coping mechanism, right? Because let's face it, our eating disorder makes us feel good, right? Our eating disorder sends us chemicals to make us feel good when we restrict, when we move too much, when we make basically the wrong choices, right? When we make the eating disorder choices, our eating disorder makes us feel good. That's how it ends up being used as a coping mechanism. So of course, when something bad happens, when something horrific happens, when we're grieving, we're going to want to use our eating disorder as a coping mechanism. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense that you would do that. But now you're here. Now you've started using it as a coping mechanism. Now you've caught yourself doing it. So now it's time to jump back in and start making recovery choices. And that's how you get back in. You just start making those recovery choices just like you did before. And what will happen over time? Over time, what will happen? You will find that every time you fall off, every time you jump out of recovery and into your eating disorder, you will learn how to get back in quicker. You will catch the relapse faster and you will get back on board quicker. That's what happens in recovery. Eventually, as you become recovered, you will start to catch those relapses before they even happen. You can see them coming. You can be like, ooh, I feel like I'm going to be around my family and they're going to be triggering and I feel like I'm going to relapse. What can I do to prevent it? That is recovery. So right now, you relapsed, right? You just jump back in. You take the next move forward that you can take where you know you won't go backwards again. Whatever that is, however big or small that jump is, that's where you jump in. And you just keep doing that and moving forward over time. You might have another slip up. Next slip up, you'll probably catch it quicker. Every time you slip up, the goal isn't to not slip up. The goal is to catch it fast and get back in. Catch it fast and get back in recovery. And over time, you will learn how to catch those relapses so fast until you can feel them coming and prevent them before they happen. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I say that a lot. I feel like recovery is impossible for me at this point. It is not. It is not impossible for you. Everybody feels like it's impossible at some point. I was 46 years old at my sickest. Okay, that was 5 years ago. I'm 51 now. I am now completely recovered, never going back, perfectly happy with my body size, perfectly happy in this body that I never thought I would be okay in, right? But anybody can recover. If I can recover, oh my God, just ask my children. I'm sure they never thought I would recover because I thought I just won the lottery on how to diet. I thought I knew how to lose weight the best. So I did not think recovery was in the stars for me. All of it, an impossibly uphill battle for sure. It's painful, it's brutal, it's awful. We have to face our worst fears, but also I know you can do it, because people with eating disorders are incredibly strong. People with eating disorders are so strong. We're full of willpower. When we set our minds to something, we can do it, right? That's part of our eating disorder. And those are wonderful, wonderful traits to have. So instead of using them to feed our eating disorder, we just need to flip it around and learn how to use it to get rid of our eating disorder, to recover, right? I'm still restricting so much and using ED behaviors, yet I've gained so much weight. That is just a classic spot to be in an eating disorder recovery. I would say most people fall into this spot at some point. Okay, this is so classic. It's normal to feel this way. It's normal to be in this spot. Know that. Okay, this is not unusual. What is happening? What happens is you start recovery, you start eating a little more, moving a little less, making recovery moves, so you gain weight, right? And you feel like you've gained a shit ton of weight, because any weight to your eating disorder is a lot of weight. But what happens is, because we're not rewiring all our fear foods, because we're not rewiring all our stopping of movement or our lower level compulsions, right? Because we haven't rewired all of that, because we're still restricting here and there, we might be eating more, but we're still restricting a little bit. We essentially have created this monster where we are now anorexic in a bigger body, which honestly was our biggest fear to begin with, right? To be stuck with a bigger body and anorexia. So there's nothing wrong with being in this place. This is actually the path to recovery. As you recover, your body will grow. You have to get used to that bigger body. And I know it feels awful. And I remember being in this same place. I'm sure almost all of us have been in the same place, right? So you gain some weight. I thought I was at my set point at least 5 or 6 times along the way. I would guess that you're not quite at your set point. I would guess you are in a body much bigger than your eating disorder is comfortable with. I would guess you're in a body bigger than anorexia likes. But I would also guess that you have some more gaining to do. You're probably not at your set point. Maybe your body needs overshoot, and you need to go into overshoot and then come back down a little bit. Okay, so I would guess that you have some more gaining to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to get used to the body we're in now. The most important thing at this point, when you're at this stage, is to not go backwards. Hang on to your body where it's at. Do whatever you can to hang on to that body. And then when you're ready, tackle that restriction. Tackle those behaviors. You have to get rid of them. When you get rid of the last bit of restriction and those ED behaviors, are you going to gain weight? Yeah, you're probably going to gain weight. That weight needed to be gained to be free from your eating disorder. And that's the goal, right? To be free from your eating disorder. Because we both know your eating disorder is miserable, right? Your eating disorder gives you hair that's falling out, right? It gives you fur on your face. It gives you nails that won't grow. You can't eat meals with your friends that you want to because you're hiding all the time around meal times. You can only eat your safe food. You have rigid eating times. Like, so many shitty things come with your eating disorder. This is why you're in recovery in the first place. And yes, you might end up in a bigger body than you like. You're probably going to end up in a bigger body than you're at right now. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay, because the alternative is life with an eating disorder. And I know it's tough in a society we have where they all want you to be in the smallest body possible, but that's just not what you and I get. Because when we have an eating disorder, the body that our eating disorder wants us to have is the body that gets us death, right? Our eating disorder only stops when we're at a weight of death. That's just where our eating disorder set point is. So we have to be in our set point, the set point that gets rid of our eating disorders. And that set point is going to be a lot bigger than our eating disorder is happy with. So you do have to get rid of this last little bit of restriction, right? And you can do it. You have to get rid of those eating disorder behaviors. It's going to be painful and it's horrible. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not a walk in the park, but you already know that, right? Because at this point, you're just suffering in a bigger body, which is truthfully your eating disorder's worst fear. So it's time to just keep going, get into that bigger body, the body that you need to recover. Because here's the thing. if you gain even more weight, let's say a bunch of weight, if you gain a bunch of weight, get rid of those eating disorder behaviors, quit restricting, and just let your body go to the weight it wants to be, okay? I promise your body will not gain forever. I promise. That's your fear, and that's not what's going to happen. And guess what? If you get to that set point and you are in that bigger body and you hate it, you can always run back to your eating disorder. You can always run back to anorexia. That used to give me some comfort as I gained toward the end of my recovery. I used to think, all right, if it's really that miserable when I recover, I will just fucking run back to anorexia. I know I'm good at losing weight. But you know what? When you get rid of those eating disorder behaviors, when you really think about the fat phobia and that kind of stuff that's going on in your brain, and when you get rid of your behaviors, you stop restricting, you will not want to go back because you will be so much happier without your eating disorder. I promise you that, okay? I promise that you will not gain forever. Your body's going to find its natural set point. I will say that there's a small percentage of the population out there that does have bodies that have the genetic component for binge eating disorder. Yes, there's a few people that have that. That is not most of us with eating disorders. And our weight is over 80% heritable from the people in our families. So if you look at your family members, okay, and you look at their weight, and you look at if they have eating disorders, if your family members are all very, at the high end of the set point range, if they're extremely, extremely large bodies and they have binge eating disorder, then I would say, okay, there's a slight possibility that you might be one of those people that will end up without a set point and with binge eating disorder. That's the only time that is going to happen to you. If you look at your family and they do not fall into that category, you will not get binge eating disorder. You simply have a restrictive eating disorder and you will not gain forever, okay? Oh, someone's at the highest weight they've ever been. I don't understand. I hear you. I know what that's like when you're at the highest weight and you're still restricting and you're still using behaviors and here's what you're thinking. Here's what you're thinking. You're thinking, recovery mom, how can I stop restricting and using behaviors? Because I'm already at this weight. If I don't do that shit, I will really be at a higher weight, right? And here's the thing, is that's not going to happen. Because right now, your metabolism is fucked and your brain chemistry and your hormones and your neurotransmitters are all messed up. Those things all have to re-regulate. It's not calories in, calories out. That is not how it works. Once those things all re-regulate through your recovery, you will land at a set point perfect for your body. A set point bigger than your eating disorder likes for sure, but a set point perfect for your body. My set point, I had to gain like 65 pounds in my recovery. I can remember after gaining the first 20 telling my dietitian I was done. I'm not gaining anymore. This is my set point. This is where I'm staying. And she's like, then you're going to live with anorexia for the rest of your life. And she's right. Me and you, we have to make a choice. Some people get to live in those very small bodies forever. They get to live in those small bodies and they get to run around eating what they want and their body's made that way. That's not a big percentage of the population. You know the set point curve. That's not a big percentage of the population that has those bodies, but some people do have those bodies. That's not me. That's not you. We have an eating disorder. We have anorexia. We don't get to do that. We have to eat, and we have to eat regularly, and we have to eat all day in order to get rid of this eating disorder. We have to be at our set point, and we have to maintain there to keep our eating disorder away. Some people in the world get to diet. They get to go on keto and they get to restrict and they get to like intermittent fast or whatever the fuck people are doing nowadays. They can do all of that and they don't end up with an eating disorder. Me and you, we don't get to do that. We have to choose between that shit and an eating disorder because that's what that means for us, right? I always have the best intentions but can never actually do it. I hear you. I know we have the best intentions because honestly, people who have eating disorders are the most conscientious, kind, loving people you will ever meet. They want to do the right thing. And that's where they get hung up because their brain is telling them restriction is the right thing. Your brain is telling you weight loss is the right thing. A small body is the right thing. Too much movement is the right thing. That is what our brain is telling us because that's what anorexia is telling us. And those are simply signals being sent to you by your neurotransmitters and your hormones. Your brain is sending you signals telling you to not eat, telling you carbs are bad, fats are bad, telling you to move your body too much. And so it feels wrong and bad when we don't follow those signals. But you have to stop following those signals in order to get your brain chemistry to regulate the right way again and to get rid of that anorexic voice going on. And most importantly, you have to gain the weight. If you don't gain the weight to your set point, you're not going to turn off the genetic component, right? I've lost my appetite, taste, and smell due to COVID. It sent me into a spiraling relapse. Oh my gosh. And the ED voice is thriving. First of all, I'm so sorry you had COVID. I had it a while ago. And I remember when I first got COVID thinking, I need to manage this because I can't go a week without food, right? I have an eating disorder history. It's in my genes. I still have to be careful for the rest of my life, as do you. And I am so recovered at this point that I didn't eat much during that time. I just could not get out of bed for 4 days. I was insanely ill. And at the end of COVID, I was really curious and I thought, I wonder what that did to my body. And I don't have a scale or anything. So I went to my mom's house to weigh myself and I weighed exactly the same as I did before. And that's how I know I'm at my set point because I can literally gorge myself on pizza for a week or go on vacation and eat a ton. I weigh the same when I get back. I can not eat when I'm really sick with COVID and I weigh the same because my body is fighting to keep me at this spot. Now, when you're recovering, however, it's very, very important, right, that we eat enough and all the time and regularly. And this sucks. I'm sorry you have COVID and losing your taste and smell. I cannot even imagine. But now we have to battle. We have to battle for your recovery and we have to get it back. So what that means is you have to think about what can you eat. Think about those calorie-dense foods. Can we chow on peanut butter, right? Can we eat French fries like mad? What are some things that you can eat that isn't grossing you out right now, right? I can imagine eating something super flavorful when you don't have taste and smell to be off, but can you just power down the French fries or the pancakes? So you need to find those calorie-dense foods that you can eat and get down, and you really need to fall into those. And you need to be mechanically eating. I used to find in my recovery, whenever something like that would happen, and I would start trickling off into those eating disorder recovery thoughts and wanting to skip meals, I would fall back on my mechanical eating. So I would mechanically eat, and that for me that meant setting alarms. So I would set alarms for every couple hours, and when those alarms went off, I would just eat. Okay, so if alarm went off, I would have to eat a couple granola bars or ice cream or whatever I had around. I could always eat a meal anytime I wanted and reset that alarm. But those alarms made sure that every 2 hours I was having intake, because in order to reset your brain chemistry, we don't only have to eat enough, but we have to eat regularly throughout the day. So we do have to eat breakfast and every few hours, okay? We can't just power all our calories into one time of day. And they've actually done a study on rats or mice. I can't remember which. I think it was mice that had anorexia. They gave one group of mice. Both groups had anorexia. They gave one group of mice all their food in just 1 or 2 feedings. They gave the other mice regular food through the day. And only the mice that ate regularly recovered from their eating disorder, because the mice that were only eating certain times of day, they still had that famine mindset and they couldn't get out of that migration mindset, and their anorexia kept on going. So set those alarms, fall back on mechanical eating. You can do this. Guilt with eating over your meal plan and junk food, even when not physically, but still mentally hungry. Oh my God, I love this. So The reason I love this is because you're telling me you have a meal plan, right? And you want to eat over it and you want to eat junk food. And I can remember I went through a million meal plans. I could never find one that really worked for me. I was like, meals and snacks. Okay, 6 snacks. Okay, this. Okay, like, what if we tried this? What if we write them out? And like, I always just would like write out what I ate, show my dietitian, we'd go over it. And eventually we found Recovery Record. And I used Recovery Record for a very long time. My dietitian could see it. My therapist could see it. And using Recovery Record was wonderful in the beginning. I got some really good feedback. I got some, telling me, my dietitian or my therapist was always saying, that salad doesn't look wet enough. It looks like it needs more oil. They were always giving me feedback. If I, felt like I was going to purge or something, I could put that on there, and sometimes they'd catch it in time. So it was wonderful. But there does come a time in your meal plan, right? Or in my Recovery Record, when we just need to eat more. Our brains want more. And that's what it was like for me. My brain wanted a Big Mac meal and then another Big Mac on top of it. But I was too full of shame to put that into Recovery Record. I would take pictures of my food and I would put it in Recovery Record. And I was like, I don't want them to know I'm eating 2 Big Macs. I don't want them to know I ate an entire pizza and wanted a half gallon of ice cream. I didn't want them to know that. And so I had a really hard time. I would spend months not eating those foods that I really wanted because I was too shame. I had too much shame and too much guilt to have me, much less anyone else, know that I wanted to eat those things. So eventually I just went to my dietitian and my therapist and I had to tell them, look, I don't think Recovery Record is helping me anymore. I want to stop using it. I stopped using Recovery Record and I started eating all the pancakes and the burgers in the world. So what I would say for you is think about, maybe you've outgrown this meal plan. Maybe you need more than this meal plan, right? And that's okay. What's also okay is that you eat all the junk food in the world. The most highly processed, highly palatable foods are quite literally your medication right now, because you have a hormone. I don't have my pamphlet with me, but you have a hormone, right, that in your brain is amped up and it's making you stay away from high calorie dense foods. Okay, we actually have hormones, neurotransmitters in our brain that make us seek out fats and high calorie rich foods. We have that because humans have gone through times where we didn't have food, right? There's always been times of starvation in human history. So we have that in our brain to help us seek out highly palatable, highly fat and calorically rich foods. When we have anorexia, that's turned in such a way that those kind of foods we're put off by them and we don't want them. In order to re-regulate that correctly, you have to eat those highly caloric, highly palatable foods. You have to get those in so that your brain can re-regulate again. As you start eating those things, your brain is going to ask for them more. You're going to eat a candy bar, your brain is going to want for 9 candy bars and a plate of brownies. That's just going to happen. That's okay. It's okay for that to happen, and it's necessary. Your body has to do that in order for your body to know there's not a famine. Because if you don't eat those foods, your brain is like, wait a minute. I mean, I get that we have salad in the environment, but why don't we have brownies in the environment? Why is she keeping us away from brownies? Why are there no brownies, right? So your brain is still going to think it's in a famine, and you're not going to be able to get rid of that migration mentality that's in your brain if you're staying away from that junk food. So it's super important to eat that. And mental hunger is hunger. Physical hunger is hunger. Mental hunger is hunger. Emotional hunger is hunger. We eat just because things taste good. We eat because we're sad. We eat because we're thinking of food. All of those are normal reasons to eat. Normal eaters eat under all those conditions, and we need to eat under all those conditions too. The thing is, when we have an eating disorder, we're afraid of our mental hunger because we have mental hunger a lot more than a normal eater because we've been ignoring it. So you are going to have to go through a time where that mental hunger is crazy and you want to eat everything. And that is okay. I know you're afraid you're going to get binge eating disorder. You're not. I've already spoke just like, a few minutes ago about how there's a very small percentage of people. I hate to even say this because when I say there's a small percentage of people that might end up with binge eating disorder, every single person with anorexia thinks that that's them. 100% of you are going to think it's you. It is not you. It is not you, unless that binge eating disorder and super large bodies is your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle. If that is in your family, then that's something that you might have to take under consideration. If it's not, it is not you. It will not happen to you. You just have a restrictive eating disorder. And junk food, Twizzlers. In fact, Lou went to a candy shop today. Oh, check this out. We went to a candy shop today and bought me their little Scottish Terriers. Oh my God, now I'm getting hungry. Little licorice balls. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Doesn't that look divine? Quite honestly, I could eat that whole bag. And then, I don't even know what's in here. Yummy stuff. Anyway, Lou brought me all these things. Oh God, there's more. What else did she bring me? Licorice. I only get licorice from those kind of candy shops. Yeah, Lou did me a solid. That was amazing. Thank you, Lou. So yes, that we should have some. Delicious. I'm gonna unplug you. Oh man, you're struggling. I am so sorry you're struggling. Please know that we all struggle. I struggled. Everybody struggles. The thing is I don't want you, I know you're gonna be crooked for a minute, but that's because I'm gonna be eating. I don't want you to think that struggling means not recovering. I really hate when people are like, you're either in recovery or you're not. You're either in recovery, and if you make a choice that's an anorexic choice, you're out. You're not in recovery anymore. Bullshit. You're in recovery. You're in recovery. I know who you are. You're in recovery. And you're struggling right now? Okay. That's okay to be struggling. It's okay. Let's struggle a little less tomorrow. Okay? Let's eat a little more today, tonight. Oh my gosh, that is delicious. I never thought I'd be like a gummy candy kind of person, ever. Because when I was really sick, I ate a lot of, my binge food was like, well, you know what binge food is. Burgers and whatever, and fries, and a lot of candy bars, and a lot of ice cream with candy bars in them. Everything was candy bars, right? As I recovered, I realized my tastes completely changed. And when I go for ice cream, I don't go for candy bar ice cream, because when I was sick and then when I was recovering, everything had to be the densest it could possibly be because I wanted all that candy. Now it's like, what tastes good? And I can have a candy bar whenever I want it, so I don't always want that. Anyway, I have found a new love for this kind of candy, quite honestly. When Lou and Eva were little, I was such a bad mom. The horrible mother. I was so overprotective. I never let them eat this kind of shit. Ever. I thought sour candy was going to, like, I don't know, kill them or something. I never let them eat sour candy. I thought it was really bad. I also thought the Disney Channel was really bad. Anyway, I feel bad all the time. I also never let them watch SpongeBob. To this day, they talk about that. I thought it was evil. Now I look back and realize I say fuck in front of them all the time. So you live and you learn. I just feel very weak all the time and think about food so much, but I'm still in a healthy weight right now. First, let me tell you, you are not in a healthy weight right now. Hands down, you are not. Let me tell you that you have a little bit of gaining to do. Probably a lot. I would ask you to look. If you have a genetic relative around you, a mother or father, look at their bodies. Look at your aunts and uncles. Kind of look around at their bodies. That's probably similar to what your body should look like. And I'm guessing that you have gaining to do, because if you are constantly thinking about food all the time and feeling weak, you are not eating enough food. You do not have enough food in your brain to keep you nourished. You're constantly thinking about food because there's not enough in you, okay? You're in a famine environment. Your brain thinks there's a famine. The only way to get out of that famine is to feed your brain more food. And yes, that's going to mean weight gain. Maybe it's just overshoot, but if it is just overshoot, you need that overshoot to recover. A lot of people need overshoot to recover. If you need overshoot to recover, that means you have to gain more. If it is true overshoot, it'll fall off. If it's your set point, then it's your set point. somebody just gave me a gift and that's super sweet. I don't know what they are and I don't know what they do, but thank you. That's adorable. I don't know what we should eat. Should we eat another one of these? There's so many things. Let's eat one of these. I'm 8 months into recovery. I've gained a bunch of weight. I can't stop binging. How can I stop? Okay, I'm going to get very specific here. Oops, I don't know. I'm clicking something. Sid, I'm going to get very specific here. The fact that you gained a bunch of weight is amazing. What that tells me, I'm going to even put this aside for a minute. What that tells me is that you are doing things correctly, okay? You are gaining weight. The fact that you feel like you want to binge all the time and that you can't stop binging, quite honestly, makes me so happy, because this happens because you're closer, you're farther along in recovery, and you're closer to being recovered. Because here's the thing. If you were in a famine environment, okay, if you didn't have anorexia, let's say you don't have that gene, you're a normal person, normal eater. I hate the word normal, but let's just use normal eater. And you starve, right? Which is what you've done with anorexia. But let's say a normal person without anorexia is starving. They're in a starving body. They're not nourishing themselves enough. Then they get around food and they start to eat again and they start to feed again. What would happen? They would want to binge all the food all the time. That's what a normal human starving body would want to do. So the fact that you are binging and you can't stop tells me that you're starting to re-regulate those neurotransmitters and those hormones in the right way, because that's what a normal starving body, that's what their reaction would be to starvation and to famine. So the fact that you feel this way tells me you're doing things right. You're on the right path. You're doing an amazing job at recovery, and I'm super proud of you. That's what that tells me. I know it feels like you can't stop. It felt like I was never going to stop also, but you will stop. Your body will stop, okay? It will find its natural set point, or you will go into overshoot. What often happens to us is we look around at society, or we look on our Instagram feeds, or we look on our TikTok feeds, and we see all these people that have recovered into small fucking bodies, okay? Maybe they haven't truly recovered. We don't get to know that, right? We don't get to know. But we see them and we think, wait a minute, I should be recovered. I should be recovered at this size. I'm getting too big, and we start to panic. But a normal body for you might be bigger than you are expecting. A normal body for me, I know BMI is a trash thing to use, but it's all we got right now. So I'm just going to tell you, my BMI is in the overweight range. But if I were to try to have a BMI in the normal weight range, I would have an eating disorder still. So for me to recover, I am in the overweight range in the BMI categories, which I know is shit. I know we're not using that in any real way, but just to give you an example. So you might need to be in a bigger body than you're used to not have an eating disorder. That just might kind of be the choice for you. And I would say I would hands down choose a bigger body, because we both know what a shit life is when you have anorexia. That said, the only way to stop binging is to give into the binges every single time they happen, okay? And eat your binge foods outside of that time. So for me, my binges always happened in the middle of the night, every night. And I kid you not, I swear to fucking God, I thought I had night eating syndrome. I still think I had night eating syndrome. I don't know what the criteria is for that. But for years, every night, I woke up and binged in the middle of the night. And then I would wake up the next morning and be like, I can't eat breakfast. I just ate a shit ton of food last night. I'm not going to eat breakfast now. Thank you for the roses. I don't know what roses do, but thank you for the roses. So I would wake up in the morning and I would not want to eat. And I would skip breakfast. Then I would eat lunch and I would be like, okay, but I still eat lunch and I still felt like I ate plenty, right? Then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would binge again. So the only way to go through that for me, and it's probably going to be the same for you, it's just going to be different foods and times of day, because I don't know what time of day you binge and I don't know what foods you're binging on. But one, you have to eat regularly and enough outside of those binges. So let's say you need 3,500 calories a day. You need to fill your day with 3,500 calories not counting the binges. I know it's going to feel terrifying, but you have to eat those 3,500 calories a day and still binge and still let those binges happen. It's going to feel horrible. And you have to wake up and eat breakfast and eat all your meals and snacks. There's going to be this terrifying time that you go through where you're going to eat all that food and you're still going to binge, and you're going to eat all that food and you're still going to binge, and you're going to do that. I did it for months. I had to do it for months. And let me tell you, I was a night eater for years, a night binger for years. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I tried locking my cabinets. I tried putting gates up. I tried putting alarms out. I tried all this shit to keep myself from night binging, but I couldn't. And so finally I said, fuck it, we're going to do this the right way. And I got up and ate breakfast and I ate all day, and it still took months. So it's going to be terrifying and it's going to take a while, but that's the way out. And you're doing amazing by letting your body binge in the first place. Just make sure there's no restriction outside of that. You're eating all your food. You also have to incorporate that binge food. For me, I always binged on like ice cream and high calorie food. I had to eat ice cream in the day. You have to eat that binge food at other times. You have to allow it during the day also. You're probably not going to want it because you just binged on it, but you have to do that. So I would have ice cream for lunch. I'd have ice cream at my dinner. Sometimes I'd have ice cream for breakfast, and I went through a soft serve phase like you would not believe. But you have to do that to get rid of those binges. And then one day, all of a sudden you realize, holy fuck, I did not binge today. That is a miracle. And then you're going to binge the next night and the next night. And it's going to sporadically slow down until you realize you've gone a week. Okay? Let's see. Yes, it's so frustrating to hear weight boiled down to calories in and calories out. Yeah, it's not. If weight was calories in, calories out, I wouldn't be here because there'd be nothing left of me, because I literally would have caloried out by now. And that's the same for most of us. And that's why we get so frustrated, because we hit this place in our eating disorder where we're literally like eating nothing and we're maintaining this weight, and we're like, what the fuck? And then we get mad at anorexia and we can't figure out why we're not losing, because that's anorexia's goal, right? And so we're like stuck, and then we eat the slightest littlest thing and our weight starts bouncing up. So then we get afraid we're going to gain forever and too fast because we fucked up our metabolism and we're stuck down here to where the littlest thing we eat bumps us up. It is just a nightmare, and I feel you. And then people are like, calories in, calories out, and I just want to fucking stab them. Honestly. Not a nice thing to say, I know. Hi, someone said, hi mom. How do I tell my parents I'm struggling with my body and eating? Such a good question. Such a good question. I love this question. A lot of people have it. How do you tell your parents? There's a few ways to do it. Some people are kind of serious people, right? And they might just like sit their parents down and say, hey, I feel like I have an eating disorder. That's fine. For me, I'm more of like a questioning kind of person. So it depends on the vibe of your parents. So I might be like, hey mom, I notice that I feel like I've been getting afraid around certain foods. I notice that I get scared to eat high calorie foods. I've been noticing that I'm afraid to eat after 8, and I feel like I might have an eating disorder or something. Do you think we can get that checked out? Because I'm really getting afraid to eat. You can ask it like a question. And if you ask your parents a question like that, my guess is that they've already noticed. And they might say, yeah, I've noticed too. We've noticed you've been struggling too. Or we've noticed. Now, some parents are triggering and they'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with you. If you have those kind of parents, then you're probably going to have to recover on your own anyway. But usually we love our kids, right? We want to help our kids. So you can set them down and just say, if you think they're not going to understand what an eating disorder is, you can print some stuff. There's some wonderful stuff you can print online at like adaptedtofamine.com. You can print some things on what an eating disorder is and how it's genetic and it's a response to famine and those kind of things. I have a pamphlet on my website, which is I think recoverymom.coach now. And I think it's linked on my TikTok as well. I think it's linked on my TikTok, my website. You can go there and print out the pamphlet that talks about the hormonal changes, neurotransmitter changes. And you can say, hey, I found this pamphlet and I feel like all of these things pertain to me. I think this might be happening to me. Sometimes if you just ask them in a question, it kind of opens up the dialogue and then they can ask you and talk back. So I always find if you just like shout things at our parents, right? then they get all defensive. But if you just ask them a question and give them a chance to have an opinion, maybe they'll be a little bit less defensive and a little bit more open, right? Peanut butter is my topping of everything, literally. When I was in recovery, I don't eat peanut butter too much anymore. But when I was in recovery, tell me if you guys went through this. In the beginning of recovery, everything had to be beautifully pictured smoothie bowls, and it had to have like almond butter, not peanut butter, because almond butter is a preferred butter. Eventually I realized I fucking like peanut butter. I'm sorry. And then I ate vats and vats of peanut butter. And now I just sporadically eat it. I go through phases. Every now and then I'll like peanut butter, almond butter. But in recovery, I feel like most of us go through a nut butter phase, a hard nut butter phase. Is 20 too young? I don't have a good memory, so I don't remember what you're talking about. So you'll have to tell me. Let's see where we're at. Oh my God, somebody sent a donut. Honestly, donuts are my life. I feel like I recovered on donuts. I kid you not. Donuts are honestly, oh my God, I fucking love donuts. It makes me sad that I think people won't love me if I gain too much. Some people might not, and those people are fucked, right? If somebody just loves you for your body size, what even is that? And honestly, I find if you are just brutally open with people, like, my husband, I was always a little bit worried about him. And finally, I just became brutally, honest and being like, I feel really large today. Oh my God, look at my stomach. It's so big. Give the people around you the opportunity to make you feel good. Say, I feel insecure. My stomach feels huge right now. 9 times out of 10, the people that love you will offer up something positive for you to suck in, right? When I say stuff like that to my husband, he would say, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. Isn't it worth it? That sandwich was delicious. I mean, he would like always come at me with, yeah, but didn't that taste good? And your stomach is beautiful. And you looked horrible before, you look beautiful now. Like, give them a chance. So it's okay to fish for those compliments when you need them. It's okay to say something and open up the door to people that you love. Let them shower you with that. Let them tell you they want you to recover. Let them tell you you would be beautiful in a bigger body. Because you would be. I know who you are. You would be beautiful in a bigger body. I'm a healthy weight, but I struggle with food and my body so often and always weak. I would really challenge you to think about what that means, healthy body. Because if you're at a healthy body, wouldn't that mean that you weren't weak? Wouldn't a healthy body mean that you were not thinking about food all the time? So I wonder what you mean by healthy body. Does healthy body mean you hit the lower cutoff of the BMI scale? Is that what healthy body means? Because to me, a healthy body means a body I can live in and be free from eating disorder thoughts, eat what I want, when I want, right? Share food with loved ones. A healthy body to me is one in which if somebody gave me a cookie as a surprise, I could eat it right then and there without panic. A healthy body to me is one that's not weak all the time, one that's not losing hair or covered with facial hair, right? All those things are in a healthy body to me. So if you're struggling a lot with food thoughts and with weakness, I would wonder if you are truly in a healthy body, or do we need to gain some weight to get into a healthy body, right? Oh, hi, Elise. Of course I would say hi to you. The reason that I often read comments and I don't read names is because I have some people that don't watch TikToks, but they've emailed me and said, hey, could you put your stuff on YouTube? So I've started to upload these lives and upload some TikToks to YouTube for the people that don't use TikTok. And so then I want to be respectful of you guys, and I don't want to say your names, so that I don't want to go blasting your names on YouTube if you guys don't like that. And so that's the only reason that I don't say your guys' names on here, because I just want to be respectful of your privacy, because I do usually post these on YouTube for other people to see. But I love you too, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're recovering. Let's have another one of these. I'm kind of afraid of the purple one. I don't know. I'm not a big grape person. So let's go in for like a grapefruit one. Oh, that is sour. Tastes like it's made with real grapefruit juice. Oh, I'm currently in 4 weeks all in. Congratulations. That is truly amazing. So like, some people say, I know some people think like I'm anti all in. I love all in. If you can go all in, you're going to get to the end of recovery quicker, because all in will force those hormones and neurotransmitters to start switching quicker. All in will force that extreme hunger, mental hunger, to come faster. So all you're doing is forcing the end of recovery quicker. So all in is a wonderful thing. I could not do it. All in was not for me. I would run back and restrict every time I tried to go all in. Ugh, awful. But I'm so proud of you. And a month all in, that is amazing. Dang. Oh, thank you for the rose. Thank you for the rose. Hi, exercise is no longer linked to food for me, but I never took a break. It does make me happy. But should I take a break anyway? I'm sure I'm at my set point. So I cannot answer specifically for you because I am not in your head, right? So if you're positive, exercise is not linked to food in any way. And sometimes we don't realize it's linked to food. It's more like, if you were to stop exercising forever, would you still be able to eat the same? Or would you feel like you need to make a few changes, right? If you feel like you might need to make a few changes, then I would say it's still linked in some way. But if you're sure exercise isn't linked, a lot of people love exercise. It makes them happy. It makes them feel good. I knew I was recovered because I'm losing my voice. I knew I was recovered because I went to the gym and I got a gym membership with Eva because Eva wanted to go. And I would lay my yoga mat down and I would just do a little yoga. And then I canceled my membership within a month. Like, honestly, I would go to the gym with Eva and sit in the coffee shop. Like, I didn't even want to go in anymore because I am not a gym person. I am not an exercise type person. I might stretch a little bit or something, walk the dog now and then. Like, I have no desire to be one of those people running down the fucking street or lifting weights or any of that stuff. It's just not something, it's not something I was interested in. I think before my eating disorder, it's just not for me. So that's how I knew. I had those signals telling me that I didn't want to do it anymore. Somebody like you who might genuinely like exercise, right? That might be something else that you have to internally tackle. Like, am I ready for exercise? Can I do it? If it really makes you happy outside of your eating disorder, right? So that's something that's a little tricky for me because I am not one that would ever do exercise for fun. No, thank you. I would rather watch a scary fucking movie. In fact, Eva and I watched the movie Us the other day. It was so scary. I loved it. From the moment it started to the moment it ended, it was amazing. It was a wild ride. In fact, it was so good we went to the movies the next night to watch Nope, made by the same guy. Which wasn't as good, but it was still good. Just wasn't as good. So anyway, when it comes to exercise, you're going to have to look inside and decide, because for me, I mean, personally, I'd be like, fuck no, you have to stop all exercise. But honestly, I do get that there are some humans out there that inherently might like to exercise for reasons other than eating disordered reasons. So you're going to have to really decide that for yourself. And I would say some people can recover without taking a break from exercise. Of course they can, right? As long as you're eating enough and you're gaining enough weight and you rewire the fact that exercise is not to earn food and vice versa. See, not being able to afford recovery clothes is so hard because you try to fit into the clothes you have, which happens to be my sick clothes. So I went to Goodwill. I love Goodwill. Goodwill's an amazing place. Also, Shein. I have a lovely TikTok about a Shein order I got, which was a nightmare. But Shein does have some really cheap and really cute clothes. So there's a lot of places to get clothes very cheaply, okay? Quite honestly, Goodwill is pretty cheap these days. Yard sales. It's sunny outside. Go to some yard sales. There's lots of places to get clothes. Maybe get elastic type clothes so that you can even have more room to grow. So I get what you mean about having sick clothes. I had sick clothes too. And at some point I had to just throw all... I'm lying. I threw most of my sick clothes out. I'm not going to lie. I saved like 2 or 3 pair of my sick clothes that I just could not part with. I folded them up and I put them in my dresser drawer. And then I kind of forgot about them. And a couple months ago, I was cleaning out a dresser in my basement and I ran into those last pants that I could not part with. And then I got rid of them. I sent them to Goodwill. But I get that those clothes come with a feeling, come with emotion, come with a lot of shit, but also we have to part with them eventually, and your body does need to grow. There's many places to get clothes, right? You can't go to Goodwill, you can't go to yard sales. There's lots of places out there. Oh, thank you for the love. Should I take a break? Oh, that was the last question. Oh, my hair looks so nice. Oh, thank you. It's actually a fucking nightmare. I've had quite a day. We've had quite a day. Eva had to work last night till like 11 or 12. Then Eva got back up and had to be there at 6. And if anybody doesn't know, Eva doesn't drive yet, so I drive her everywhere. She's working on getting her license right now. So I had to get back up and take her. And then I had like this nightmare long day. And then actually, Eva's at a date right now and I'm waiting for her to be done. So I'm hanging out in an ice cream parking lot while I'm waiting because I just love my kids so much. And my hair has just been a nightmare. I don't think I've washed it in a week. However, I will say it now grows. It's not as damaged. When I was very sick, my bangs were this long. They were these little tiny like half-inch bangs. And I used to take little clips and clip them right there because that's all I could fucking do because it would stand right up. And I was just like, oh my God, it was a goddamn nightmare. I'm a 50-year-old woman and I have these like little clips. But it's like all I could do because if you cut it right there, oh, nightmare. Fucking eating disorders, it was a nightmare. Anyway, thank you for that. I hope I can fully recover because someday I want to be able to help others just like you. So the thing about that is honestly, you can and you can. So I was talking to my therapist about this a couple weeks ago because my therapist is a, PhD anorexia researcher. She's the one that wrote the research and papers on the adapted to famine hypothesis about eating disorders. She wrote textbooks on how to treat it. She's very well known in the community, whatever. And she believes, as do I, that more people recover with people like us in their corner than anyone else. If you have been there, you have so much more empathy, compassion, understanding. You are so much more helpful. I can't tell you how many people out there have said triggering shit that have never had eating disorders. They just don't get it. There's some wonderful dietitians. I've had a wonderful dietitian. There's some wonderful therapists. My wonderful therapist and dietitian didn't have eating disorders and they get it. They're far and few between. I think it's far more helpful for people like you and me to recover, jump in there, help other people, okay? Because it's more relatable when you've been there. I remember the shit you're going through. Oh my God, sometimes I laugh out loud when I read it, and not to be mean, but because I remember it so clearly, right? And you do too. So I know you're gonna recover, and when you do, you're gonna help other people recover. That's how we recover. We're gonna recover, we're gonna help other people recover, and we're gonna do that in a cycle till we're all fucking recovered. My grandmother had one, and I guess it's inheritable. It's absolutely inheritable. Heritable. So eating disorders, right? Eating disorders are genetic. They're genetic. They're in your genes. Then you go into, so they're like dormant in there. If you go into an energy deficit, which means you expend more energy than you take in, that gene gets expressed. Your leptin falls, a host of other neurotransmitter, hormonal, and chemical changes happen in your brain to set off your eating disorder, and boom, you're there, right? So yes, it's inheritable. It's in my family, my sister, my aunts, many people in my family have them too. Absolutely. Oh, I love the lighting. I'm gonna have to go pretty soon because it's getting dark, but So hands down, yes, it is. It's heritable. And so it's even more important that you recover, right? Because if you have kids, your little cousins, your little nieces and nephews, they might have an eating disorder. And what a gift to them if you can provide a pathway to recovery. If they've seen someone recover, they will be more likely to recover, right? So it's really important that we recover so that those other people in our families can learn how to recover from us, right? Absolutely. I was so obsessed with cashew butter for the longest time. So I know. Oh my God, me too. Cashew butter. I forgot all about it. I tried all the butters. Cashew butter, sunflower butter, pumpkin seed butter. Like you name it. If there was a butter, I fucking tried it. Some of them are not very good. I went through that whole, oh man, I ate so many butters. I just got told I need a higher level of care other than outpatient. Any advice? So if you need a higher level of care, you need a higher level of care. There's nothing wrong with that. It is okay, right? Let's use it as a jump start. Let's get that higher level of care. Let's gain some weight so we can think a little more clearly, right? Let's get some of those behaviors in check. Let's come back out even stronger and continue doing recovery on our own, right? You don't need any advice for a high level of care. You just got to jump in there and accept it, not fight it. Use it as a jumping off point, right? I'm glad that you have access to that. I'm glad that you're willing to take advantage of it. Body image has been so hard for me lately. I get ready for things and freak out and feel so ugly. Oh my God. That was when I went out and bought a million things on Shein, and that was a nightmare. But I remember that. And body image is a tough one. And so for me, when I used to look at my body parts that I didn't like, and especially my goddamn arms, I had somebody tell me once that I had the hugest arms ever. It was decades ago, stuck with me. So I was terrified that my arms would grow back again in recovery, and they did, right? Because everything gets bigger in recovery. So I wonder if I turn my light on here. Yeah, that's absolutely nothing. So when I catch myself looking at my body and seeing something bad or wrong, I always stop myself, right? This is what I did in recovery every time. Stop myself and have the whole conversation about that body part in my head. For example, if you're getting ready to go somewhere and you're doing something and you feel like your thighs are extra big, right? And you're like, oh my fucking God, my thighs, I can't take it. They're too big. I want to restrict. I'm not going to eat tonight. I'm not going to eat tomorrow. I'm going to throw up, whatever. Stop yourself and say, okay, I have these big thighs. My thighs are bigger than I would like. They are big. Here's the thing. I can have smaller thighs tomorrow. I can restrict. I can throw up. I can use laxative, whatever you do. I can have smaller thighs. What are those smaller thighs going to mean? Well, for you and me, smaller thighs mean an eating disorder, right? So for you and me, smaller thighs mean losing your hair, not being able to eat with other people, right down the rabbit hole. It means furry face. It means not being able to concentrate. It means not being able to read a book or watch a fucking movie because we can't even sit down long enough. It means your nails won't grow. It means you're cold all of the time. The cold is brutal. It means you can't have milk and sugar in your coffee. It means you can't have a slushie or a milkshake. Liquid calories are off limits, right? All that shit comes with bigger. Oh, don't forget you're an asshole. You're a bitch. You're a total dick to live with, because when you have an eating disorder, you fucking hate everybody. You hate everybody because they want you to eat and you don't want to eat, so you hate them. So you're a bitch or an asshole or a dick. Don't forget that. So those bigger thighs, or you can make them smaller, but it comes with all that shit. Or you can have those little bigger thighs. You can have those little bigger thighs, and you can have hair that grows, and you can have nails that grow. You can have people that you can actually have conversations with, and you can hear them instead of calculating in your brain. People aren't sick of you. They're not mad at you all the time because you're literally living with anorexia in your head. Your nails are growing. You're not freezing all the time, right? So every time, and I know this sounds insane, I used to do this 100 times a day because I would catch myself in the reflection and go, oh, my arms, oh, this, oh, my thigh gap is gone. Every time that would happen, I would run through those thoughts in my head. I would think, okay, you're right. I hear you, anorexia. My thighs are getting bigger. My thigh gap is gone. I fucking hear you. I could definitely jump back in and do all of those anorexic things, right? I could do that. And then remind yourself of what that bigger body part gives you and what life is like with a smaller body part. And then make a choice. And you're going to choose a life without anorexia, because anorexia is brutal, and we both know that, right? And you're not ugly. You are beautiful. You are absolutely beautiful. Anorexia is telling you different. And anorexia is a fucking bitch. How can I start recovery? So let's see. Let me see if I can turn a little light. I don't think I can. I don't know. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. How can I start recovery? So you start recovery by taking a recovery step, right? So you start recovery by thinking of something you can do right now that goes against your eating disorder and that is for your true self, against anorexia. So, can you add more food right now? Can you make a meal? And I don't just mean make a meal right now and restrict after. So how you start recovery is by making the biggest step forward you can take without running backwards into your eating disorder. So for example, jumping all in would be a perfect way to start recovery. That would be absolutely amazing, right? But if jumping all in means that you're going to run back to your eating disorder, scared to death tomorrow, don't jump all in. Add a whole meal at the end of your night, right before bed. Add a big old plate of food, right? That's a perfect way to start recovery. Add it, have it every single night before bed. If adding a big plate of food before bed is going to make you wake up and restrict what you normally did eat, then that's too much. Add a half a plate of food. So your goal with your step when you're starting recovery or at any point in recovery is to make the biggest step forward that you can make without jumping back into a eating disorder behavior or restricting more after. Sometimes that's a tiny step. Sometimes all I could add was a tablespoon of cottage cheese extra to my meal plan. That's what I added because I knew if I added any more, I would go back to restricting. Then I would just add that tablespoon of cottage cheese for about a week or two until I felt safe. Then I would add something else. It's okay to make a little step. The goal is to just take the biggest step forward you could take without going back. Ooh, how to ditch the scale? That's a good question. For me, my scale broke. I started getting an error signal on my scale, and I can remember my dietitian saying, hey, when that thing breaks for good, you're not going to get a new one, right? And I was like, I don't know, knowing full well I would. And she made me promise I wouldn't get a new scale, so I didn't get a new scale. That's what me getting rid of the scale looked like. That said, one day you have to pick up that scale. Just when you're in a, like, have a friend do it, have a spouse do it, have a kid do it, have a mom do it, have somebody throw that scale away for you, okay? If they can't do it, the next time you're feeling strong, you're feeling like you have a little bit of recovery strength, you just throw it away. And when you do, what you will find is you go through a panic mode, okay? I got rid of that scale. I didn't get a new one when I broke it. I literally overused it. And I found myself going to the gym to weigh. I would go to Walmart and put a goddamn scale on the ground so I could get on it. I would go to my mom's house and weigh. I would weigh everywhere because I was in like a panic to know what I weighed. But I couldn't weigh at home anymore. So I couldn't get that constant hit of dopamine that I got from weighing. And eventually, it was okay that I didn't weigh at home. But it's going to feel horrible at first, and it's going to feel bad at first. But you have to rip the Band-Aid off, and you just have to do it. There is no easy replacement. There is no easy way to do it. You got to get rid of it. You got to feel shitty. You'll probably weigh yourself everywhere you fucking can for a long time, and then slowly you tackle that. Then you're like, oh my God, I'm weighing myself at Walmart. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm not going to weigh myself. You tackle that. Now I'm weighing myself at just the gym and my mom, and eventually I quit the gym altogether, so I didn't have to worry about that. Then I just weighed myself at my mom's, and I had to challenge myself to go there without weighing. That's how you do it. You just get rid of it, you feel shit, and you move on, okay? I know it's hard, and I know you think you can't. So maybe you ask somebody else to do it for you, okay? I just graduated IOP, and this is my first time in 6 years of completing on a program. Amazing. I think that means you completed the program, right? That's amazing. How do you deal with anger in recovery? Well, you're already a complete asshole, right? Let's be honest. People with eating disorders are not so nice to be around because we have all our shit the right way. We have all our special fucking forks and spoons and shit. And if someone else uses it, we have a panic attack. We can't eat certain foods, so we get pissed. We can only go to certain restaurants and have certain menus. Like, honestly, are you really that nice? Are you really that kind to be around right now? We're probably not the life of the party at this moment when we have an eating disorder. So let's be honest about that, right? And also, that said, when I went into recovery, I was brutal. I was mean. I was angry. I was awful. You're going to be. If you have loved ones around you that you can talk to, tell them this. I used to say, oh my God, babe, I'm brutal today. I'm so angry. I'm pissed. I don't want to eat this. I'm mad. I don't want to look at your face right now. And later at a calm time, I would just be like, I'm sorry, that was the eating disorder talking, whatever. They have to know what to expect. They want you to recover. You're gonna be angry. You're doing shit that makes a human being angry. This is brutal stuff you're doing. You have a right to be angry. You're facing your biggest fears. If your family member was afraid of heights and they had to jump out of a goddamn airplane, wouldn't they be pissed or angry? Yes, they'd be very angry, right? If your parent was afraid of spiders and you gave them a plate of spiders for breakfast, wouldn't they be angry? Yes, they'd be angry. Well, that's the same shit we're dealing with. We basically have a plate of spiders for every meal, right? So you have a right to be angry. It's okay to be angry. After you have an outburst, apologize, right? In a calm moment, say, I'm sorry. That was my eating disorder. I know I'm a bitch right now. I'm recovering. Your loved ones will understand because you will get better and they will see you get better, right? But you do have to get better. They do want you to get better. They would rather you get better and go through the anger. Aww. I'm so glad you found my account. I love following you, honestly, too. You're fun. I really hate the cold. I never want to be as cold as I was. It was brutal, right? I was so cold in the summer. In the summer, it'd be 100 degrees, and I had plug-in heated blankets all around the house, anywhere I might sit. Anywhere I might land, by the bed, by the chair, by the couch, I had little plug-in heated blankets. Hysterical. I even had one I would plug in my car. Insane. Completely insane. I had some relapses before I can get to where I am now. I tried one day and then relapsed the day after. Yeah, that's totally normal. It's totally normal to try to relapse. But the thing is, every time we relapse, every time we run back to our eating disorder, we learn a little bit, right? Why did we relapse? What happened, right? We learn a little bit. And so we use that, right, for the next relapse. We use that so that we can get on track quicker, right? How do you hold yourself accountable alone? That's rough, but here's the thing. You have willpower, right? Because think about how you can restrict. Think about your behaviors. Think about what you're doing right now. You have a lot of willpower. So let's use that willpower to hold yourself accountable. Use that willpower to decide to recover instead of give in to your eating disorder, okay? All right, my friends, it's getting way too dark. I'm going to have to go. So thank you for coming. I think I got to almost everybody's question. If I didn't get to your question, is it called DM on TikTok like it is on Instagram? I don't know. Just send me a message and I can answer your question privately. And you can always ask me to follow you. I don't follow very many people on TikTok. I don't know. I just make videos and then I kind of move on with my shit. But if you do want to communicate through TikTok, you can just ask under a video, hey, will you follow me back so we can communicate? And I will totally follow you back. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram there as well. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. It really got dark. It's 9:20 where I am. I don't know where you are, but it really got dark here. So I'm going to open up all these bags of candy and eat a shit ton of candy. And you should go eat a shit ton of candy too. Okay? All right. Good night.